welcome back everybody. Slim Slam and the Bandwagon Fan. I'm Slim, he's Slam, and to my left, that is the Bandwagon Fan. As always, brought to you proudly by the Jersey Cartel on Facebook. Boys, week 8 in the books. How are we?
Well, big week, Blaze. Few upsets here, so that's
Couple.
always good to look forward to on the show to come.
Yes.
Schnazzy boy?
We'll review a couple of the ups and downs of the weekend that was. Schnazzy,
I think it was my worst week in tipping, so I'm not doing as well as I've previously done. I think I was 12 or 14 last week.
Yeah.
Only got 8 this week.
Yep.
But in saying that, good week of football, some close games, some upset, as Slammer said, and I can't wait to get into it.
This will be a couple of crackers mixed in here. We had a couple of really good games of the week to look at. So, but before we do all that, as you have all come to know and love, the Good Call, Bad Call segment is back yet again with our man, the Schnarzinator. Not sure about that one. But anyway, take us through.
Nicknames on the fly, I don't mind it.
Take us what you got for us this week, Schnazzy.
Thanks, Blazinator. So, good call, bad call. Given the injuries to George Kittle and Jimmy Garoppolo, the 49ers season is almost all but over.
I would suggest that while people were talking I'm going to call it a good call, don't get me wrong. It was called a Super Bowl hangover a little bit early on in the year. I think at this point you can probably write it off as it's just the war of attrition has got the best of them and they just run out of stock.
Yeah, I think I'd have to agree there, Blaze. I feel like they'd started to get back on track probably the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And then to have 2 or 3 weeks, and then to have all those injuries come in, obviously on the weekend, lose your quarterback for 6 weeks, Kittle for 8 weeks.
Yep.
It's going to be real. It's a real hard ask now for them to make the playoffs.
Well, you look at they've struggled for consistency in the skill position anyway, and Kittle, is that guy who can just who can make all the difference. And to lose him,
still out as well,
and Samuel's back out again for another couple of weeks. So they're back up against the wall. I'm not sure about who they've got coming up, but I think it's probably fair to say it might be.
The Packers this week, Thursday Night Football.
Yeah,
it might be curtains for them.
Well, I mean, in my opinion, they didn't look too great against the Seahawks anyway.
Yeah.
That first 3 quarters was pretty much trash.
Yep.
Until, the third stringer came in.
Yeah.
Oh, mate. And
Bertrand?
Nope.
Bertrand?
No, Mullins.
the third.
Oh, Mullins is third now.
Yeah. I think Mullins came in.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I think Berthard's out.
Is he?
Yeah.
Oh, this is just shambles down there.
So, it's not looking good in San Francisco. Silicon Valley, watch out.
Yep, that's right.
Next up, good call, bad call. Lamar Jackson's passing game will limit the Ravens from achieving their full potential as a squad of men.
Slammer?
Well, I mean, it is looking a bit that way. I flagged it last week. I did say about how Pittsburgh were going to try and stop that run game and force him into throwing situations there, and I feel like they definitely did that the way they wanted to do it. I don't know. Is it that his passing game is so poor, or is it that other people have caught up to the other stuff, which is making his passing game look worse because you can sort of clog up the box?
That's the thing. If you're going to sell out against the run and force him into it, I think Pittsburgh kind of schemed him into doing that. But I've got concerns about the Ravens in that conference now. Obviously, the Steelers...
Conference or division?
Well, both.
Yeah.
Obviously, the conference in terms of where you want to get at the end of the season. Obviously, the Kansas City Chiefs have proven on a couple of occasions now that they're probably a step above where they can
they're
get
kryptonite.
to.
Definitely.
And now you've got a defense in Pittsburgh who looks like they've got that. I mean, I know the Ravens still had a fair few rushing yards.
Yeah.
But I think it's that element of Lamar's a perfectly fine thrower, but if you expect him to be great, I think you're running into some roadblocks there.
Yeah, and I think if you're trying to come from behind late as well,
Yeah.
I think when you can take away the run game and not let them do it at all because of time restraint, then I think they're in a much worse position.
Yeah. So it's tough times down there at the moment. And
now they're 2 games behind the Steelers in the division, which, as you've just said, that means they're either, if they're going to make the playoffs, which you'd still accept them to make the playoffs, they're going to be the 5, 6, or 7 seed.
Yep.
So they're going to be on the road first week, unless they can pull back 2 games on the Steelers.
Which is going to be tough.
And they'll have to play the Steelers again in Pittsburgh.
Yep. So, I mean, there's backs against the wall stuff for the Ravens there, but I mean, Lamar and the boys down there, they've obviously got good character and they don't mind having the backs against the wall and people doubting them a little bit, but I think there are some real question marks starting to come forward.
And one other man who might agree with this is Hollywood Brown.
Yes, well, he did.
Very hot on the Twitter on the weekend.
Yeah, he was not impressed.
He got out there and he's, if you've got a Lamborghini in the garage, why don't you take it out for a drive kind of thing? And it's just...
I think his words were, what's the point of having soldiers if you're not going to use them?
Yeah.
So,
exactly.
Shout out Hollywood Brown. We love you over here.
It like Soldier Boy as well.
Yeah, which is just even better.
Yeah.
We love that little slide in the pop culture reference and whatnot. So that's why it's nice. We appreciate that.
Before we move on from there, this
Correct.
is no shade at Lamar Jackson. We think he's still an unbelievable player.
100%.
However, just all successful quarterbacks in the NFL have been the mold of Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah. And I think he's being found out a little bit.
You're going to have to...
When you're a bit one-dimensional like that, it can be very hard to work it out on the first year scale, so you can get away with a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And Harbaugh seems really intent on trying to keep playing that way and not advancing his system at all.
Adapting it, maybe.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's some question marks. I think that's the key point. And, unfortunately, we said this when they lost to the Chiefs. A lot of these questions can't get answered until the end of the season. In the postseason is when you can silence some of this stuff. And for the time being, they're just going to have to live in that space. Yeah, exactly.
They're just not doing it.
So they're under the pump. They're under the pump.
It's almost become its own segment, the Ravens.
Look, yeah.
Very good. Next one here. Is Devante Adams the best wide receiver in football? Slammer?
I love this call, Schnazzy boy. I think he might just be.
Yeah.
I really think he might be. He is insane. He made a catch on the weekend in the back of the end zone with a defender draped all over him. I'm not even sure he could see the ball when he still caught it. It was insane. At the moment, I reckon, and based on in form right now, he's the best wide receiver in the game.
Yeah. Well, the other two you would have would be Deandre Hopkins and Michael Thomas.
Yeah. And
Michael Thomas haven't seen him through 8 weeks of football.
Yeah.
And
D-Hop's been pretty good.
He's been consistent.
Yeah.
But hasn't been as impactful
as
Devante Adams.
Not like Devante Adams, no.
There's a factor in there too when, Aaron Rodgers is throwing you the ball. Kyler's come a long way and he's looking pretty good, but it's still Aaron Rodgers. And some of those balls that he throws him, like you say, that one that he caught without having a look, there's an element of the ball's going to be there.
He's just always open. It's insane.
Oh, he's fantastic.
It's
Don't get me wrong.
insane.
I think he's definitely making a case for that question, and obviously not seeing Michael Thomas is probably enhancing that kind of statement. Yeah, good call.
Probably helps with the system he's playing in at the moment. Rodgers loves to throw the ball. Not a lot of offensive weapons in that team.
Aaron Jones out at the moment. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, it keeps the floor open for him.
Was that Vantez Sterling?
Marquez Valdez Scantling.
Yeah, don't like him anyway.
Serious name.
No good. But for mine, Slammer, I'd have him up there with your Kamaras, your Dalvin Cooks, and your Derrick Henrys of importance to their side and winning games.
Yeah, you had me confused for a second, but I'm with you now.
Because they were running backs and they're wide receivers.
Did think you were losing the plot there for a second, but that's all right.
Still losing it, but I've still got some left.
Yeah, just maintain it just enough.
Last one. Good call, bad call. The Chargers' fourth quarter performances are becoming a serious concern for Charger fans.
It's got to be. This is a consistent, and we've mentioned this in a couple of weeks before. This is a good call, Schnaz, because this is a systemic problem in that franchise. And now you've got Herbert, who's coming along great guns, and you're still seeing the same cough-ups like you had with old Philly boys. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know where they're at there. I mean, Atlanta cop all the flack because they have the big high-profile snuff outs and whatnot. But the Chargers are making a case. They're making a serious case for coughing up the unlosable games. I think, was that the third game this year they've lost when they're up by more than 10 or
fourth?
Yeah, something like that.
It's not good. I think they can get away with it more because they've got the rookie quarterback and stuff, and they don't obviously have a wide receiver. Keenan Allen's good, but he's probably not as good as Julio Jones. Yeah. So I think that gets them out of the spotlight. I think the fact for them that they're a fairly small market team, they're clearly the second team in LA at the moment as well. I think they're getting away with a lot of stuff.
Yep.
Because they're not as in the headlines. But yeah, I definitely think it's a cause for concern.
If you sit down and look at the numbers, it's a red alert.
It's not something that's going to be contribute to a great success of this organisation. And it's, as you rightly said, it's becoming almost Falcon-esque.
Yeah, well, it is.
Which has rattled them for years.
Well, exactly, and they've struggled to shake off the stink of that Super Bowl, obviously, and it's haunted them ever since. And I think when it comes down to a franchise's consistently coughing up these kind of games, that's when you get really concerned because then everyone on your list thinks, oh, God, they're coming again. Confidence goes down.
They're mentally rattled.
It's flow-on effects all around.
For the Chargers, I think it's just their ball club problem, whereas Atlanta, I think it actually might be a statewide Georgia problem.
Okay.
The Braves do it pretty much every year as well.
Yeah, so
I reckon the Bulldogs did it one year as well.
The Hawks haven't been good for a long time.
So you're really breaking it out.
There's a lot of problems in Georgia, is what I'm saying.
Something in the water.
Professional sports teams in Atlanta, Georgia, not good.
Flat.
Not good.
They're rap game on the other hand.
I was going to say, they did manage to push out Migos and whatnot, which is a favourite of ours. But hey, I think that's a good call, Schnazi. I think it's a real cause for concern. And as long as you've got Herbert there, you'd hope that can turn around with time. But that's what it's going to take. It's going to take
the key point there is they do have Herbert there, and he has turned out to exceed everyone's expectations. And I think we'll get into that more when we talk about their game that they actually lost this week.
They did indeed. But I think that's not a bad little transition. Another good segment in the books there, Shinazi. We will get into the games now.
Especially since we were talking about the Falcons there, Blake.
Correct. So we'll tie straight into them. They actually got a win this week, as much as we were putting them down a little bit there. They knocked off the Carolina Panthers in Thursday Night Football. 17-25 was the final score. A bit of an up and down contest. Panthers kind of struggled. There was no C-Mac, I think is probably the main thing to come out here. He was activated, but we didn't see him.
Yeah.
So Mike Davis, I believe his first name is, took most of the work there.
Yep.
But yeah, the Falcons come away 25-17. Sadly, Chuck, Calvin Ridley left the game a bit sore. Second quarter, I believe.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about it too much, Blaze. It's obviously upsetting. He only had 3 receptions for 42 yards there.
Yep.
But, hopefully that'll be all good. I'm not too sure about
Haven't seen the prognosis yet. No. Yeah, no.
Ryan was pretty good on the weekend, though. 281 yards, pretty good game for him, I would have thought. Julio Jones was back to his best.
Yep.
Especially in the first quarter. He had like 3 or 4.
He's strung it together of late as well.
Nuts. He ended up with 7 for 137 on the day. Just on him, though, he has the most games in the NFL with 100 yards and no touchdowns.
Yeah.
He's got 29 of those games. Nobody else in the entire NFL has got more than 22.
He's a proven chain mover.
He's a proven chain mover, but he's not a red zone threat at all, which is just puzzling.
It's interesting.
Really strange.
Schnazzy, any takeaways for you, my friend, out of this one?
Not a lot, really. I'm keen to see Christian McCaffrey come back into this Panthers side. I feel like they could use that. I think Teddy Bridgewater started to, he was a bit of an unknown at the start of the season because he was riding the bench at the Saints last year, and maybe some teams are still starting to work out their offense a bit. So, they've sorted out the pass game, bring back the run game. They might, throw a few curveballs in some of these later games of the season.
Absolutely. We did see in a little parallel for the week before, the Cowboys, obviously Andy Dalton got a pretty nasty hit low and late. Teddy Bridgewater received a similar kind of treatment, and this week his teammates actually stuck up for him, which was an interesting
as an example of what you should do.
A little sidebar
for any of you Cowboys players out there.
If a defender slides in with his helmet and tries to snap your neck, you're probably within your cause to remonstrate a little bit. I would have
do
thought.
your best Wims impersonation.
We'll get to that one. That's there's a bit going on with. We need to sort through that, but we'll get to it when we get to it.
To finish this one as well, I think the Falcons started 1-6 last year. They now moved to 2-6, if I'm correct.
Yep.
So, and they finished the season on fire last year. So, I hope for all Falcons fans out there that they don't finish the season on fire, because next year is going to be the same thing with the same squad.
Groundhog Day, yeah, and you don't want that for a fan base. As Chucky quite rightly says, if you're an Atlanta sports fan, you're deprived of success or interest. So you want to see some stuff turn around there, quick, smart. But hey, Ravens Steelers in probably one of the most anticipated games from the weekend.
Your game of the week?
It was my game of the week actually, and it held up 28-24. The Ravens started hot, the Steelers pegged them back, and I guess the story of the tape here, Chucky, would be that Pittsburgh defense really is legit.
Yeah, it really is legit there, Blaze. They scored first. They went up 7-0 on an interception that they ran back pick 6 there.
Yep.
And then they really didn't do a lot on offense the entire first half.
No, not at all.
Down 7-14, I think it was. And the Ravens moved the ball okay. And then Pittsburgh really went nuts after that. Came back, got in front handily, and then were able to hold off Lamar late, which is sort of what we were talking about before. He had some drives late. He tried to force one into the end zone there, but it just didn't work out for them very well. And he had a fumble on 4th down.
Yeah,
which
they
had to settle for a field goal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the guys they've got there, Fitzpatrick. Jesus Christ. Brilliant. And TJ Watt and the like. They're starting to get their props across the league and in social circles as well, that they are really up to
Joe Haddon down there as well. They got some good players.
They got some real ball players there, so they'd be super happy. And I guess a little concern maybe would be that slow start with the offense and Big Ben and whatnot, but almost touched on Chase Claypool.
They still managed to put up 28 points there as well, and they've scored more than 26 in every game this year.
Yeah, so they'd be happy.
They only had that 3 times last year.
Yeah. So they'd be really happy with how it's tracking. And a guy called Chase Claypool, Schnaz.
Before we get to Chase Claypool, complete inverse of the Titans game where they started strong and finished slow. So it's good to see that they, at least if you take any positive out of it, it's that they finished strong.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think they're the sort of balanced team that they can obviously do it either way. They can run it or they can throw it through the air there. Because they didn't have a great game rushing-wise on the weekend. They only had the 48 rushing yards from 2 below. Kind of had 47 of them on 15 carries.
Yeah.
But Ben had 182 through the air and 2 touchdowns and no picks. So I think really the difference in the end there was the no picks.
Yeah.
Under Mike Tomlin as well, with Ben Roethlisberger as their quarterback and the senior players they do have, they're one of those mentally strong teams. The slow start won't phase them.
Yeah.
So it's one of those teams, if you're down early, you can really back them in to win games. And, they've got the old heads and they've got the young heads. And Chase Claypool.
Yeah.
I've caught yours.
Yeah, you did. You got the stutters.
Mate,
You're right. You're right, brother.
But
You're
he is unreal. Watching him play, he's 6'5", like skinny
very,
as, but
very
he
big
flies
man.
down the line. And him and Juju Smith together reminds me of that season when Juju was a rookie and played with Antonio Brown, and those two were unreal.
Yeah,
Well,
absolutely.
we said this all off season, really, that they were crying out for a number 2 wide receiver.
Yep.
And even as you said before, you reckon he's making the case to be the number 1 wide receiver.
Yeah, he's incredible.
But just while we
he's really
quickly
red hot.
brought up Mike Tomlin before, I think Mike Tomlin on the weekend passed, I think it was
did.
Tony Dungy to be
He
the
was, yes.
most wins in the NFL by a black coach in the history of the NFL.
So big
that's
props
a good,
to Mike
good one there for
Tomlin
Mike.
in a league that is a bit short on the African American coach at the minute. It is a bit of a talking
Caucasian
point.
league.
Correct. But
From a
big
coaching standpoint.
congratulations to him. He's been a really good coach for a long, long time, and the Steelers love him. And I think the league really benefits from having someone of his caliber leading one of the teams there. So
I love how he wears the aviators in every game.
It is good.
He has them on the sideline.
He's dressed he's dressed ready to go to some sort of hip hop gig after.
He's got his,
every time.
He's got swag meter popping off.
Yeah.
It's dope. The Chiefs versus the Jets here in a game that was went pretty much to script. Schnazi actually called a very similar scoreline last week.
Well, what I say, the Chiefs will score over 30 and the Jets won't score over 10.
Yeah, correct.
And 35-9 was what we got.
35-9 in a day that Paddy Mahomes had a bit of a field day after his day after his day off the week before, where he didn't have to do much at all. No. This week he decides he's going to throw 415 yards and 5 tubs, I think.
416 bloods.
416,
416.
sorry.
And just a lazy 5 tards.
Yeah.
Pulled him out of the game there at the end. Why bother?
Yep.
Obviously, pretty much nothing on the ground this game, though, but really didn't have to. They just sort of did whatever the hell they wanted to do.
Would have liked to see a little bit of Lev Bell rubbing the salt in, but I think that was coming in different ways.
How's this, though, Blaze? They had 3 receivers go over 95 yards.
Yeah.
Like, Miko had 96 on 7, Tyreek had 98 on 4, and then Travis had 108 on 8.
Yeah. So,
that's a huge day.
They're going gangbusters over there.
Doing whatever they wanted. And shout out to the Jersey Cartel, who now owes me a sweet bottle of red.
Oh, of course, yes. A little a sly wager.
The Chiefs would cover the spread there of 19.5 points.
Yeah.
And that was easy money.
Yeah, that was easy money.
I think the thing that's concerning me for the Jets is here. They've scored 9 points again. Yeah. And this is the 3rd game straight. They haven't scored a point in the second half.
Yeah.
So there's 3 games in a row they've scored under 10 and they've scored all their points in the first half.
Yeah, it's pathetic.
They are systematically flawed. They have holes everywhere. They have no confidence. Absolutely. They have the worst coach in the league. And quite frankly, they have no right to be in the league at the moment.
How do you have a coach, it's an NFL coach, Adam Gase, and he is quickly becoming the biggest joke in football because he still has his job.
Yeah.
But the main issue here for me is you come out, you get to half time, you're not going that well. For weeks on end now, they come out like 4 yards against the Bills, I think it was the week before.
You're right. Yep.
And then you do absolutely nothing this week, and like the Chiefs take, it's the Chiefs, cool. Yep. But like you'd at least see some kind of change or some kind of
just switch it up, try
just
something.
Do something.
Like
what are
they just on Adam Gase? 32. He's lost 42 games as a head coach in the NFL. 32 of those 42, he's lost by more than 10 points.
Yeah, so
he's getting spanked every time he does it. Just quickly, while we're on bizarre stats, the Chiefs defense does not get a lot of love on any platform anywhere.
Yeah.
They are currently the number 3 scored against defense. They are only allowing 19 points a game on average.
Yeah. And this channel and this group of 3, especially 2, will always show love to the Kansas City Chiefs. And that defense will lead the charge there if that's what it takes.
Absolutely. They're just not getting enough love, players.
They've got ball hawks over there like Tyron and, Dirty Dan does his thing.
Dan does what he does, And Willie Gay's actually come along a little bit in the last couple of weeks as well.
Best name in the NFL.
Absolutely, without a doubt. They are just doing what they got to do.
You got something to say?
No, I'm going to let the Chiefs fans finish because the Chiefs fans love Chiefs fans. So, gets the views up.
Yeah, that's right.
The reason the defense, though, for the Chiefs is not hyped up to be what it is to be, you got 2 sides of the ball here, and there's no way you're giving any attention to the defense when you've got that offense.
Isn't that like... It's unjust on the defense. I blame the fans for this because all the fans go out and say, "Oh, how good's Tyreek?" or "How good's Travis?" or "How good's Pat Mahomes?" I don't know if I'd say it's
how
the
good's
fans.
Clyde.
I reckon it's
all the fans just talk them up and talk them up so much.
I reckon it's the nationwide media though. They only see the Chiefs as an offensive team and they don't show any love to the defense at all.
I reckon Chiefs fans have that problem too. It's not just the nationwide media.
Well, not me because I'm telling it to you right now. I'm selling it to you, sports fans.
It's taken 8 weeks and you're the only one.
8 weeks. I've been going on about it every week. They've allowed 20 points or fewer in 7 out of their 8 games. Or barely. It's all I talk about.
In summary, I would say some of the more objective Chiefs fans would raise the defense as a possible factor in why we go so well.
Now, Blaze.
Now, the more...
I've got the hat on.
Yes, okay. Let's move into the guarantee. Let's do it.
Not impressed.
Yep.
Tennessee Titans. Sal Abbott. Unbelievable. So we had the Chiefs, they won. Walk in the park. We had the Bucks, they won. That almost would have been a stitch up.
made you sweat a little bit.
But, luckily it was already done by this morning when that was happening.
Yep.
Eagles, that was easy against Dallas. And then the Titans.
Call that easy.
It wasn't easy watching.
No, it's a hard watch,
easy,
no doubt. But the Titans have let us down there against the Bengals.
Yeah, and it was flagged a little bit as a Smoky Joe game.
Yeah, Smoky
but,
Joe game.
Obviously we'll get to that game in its
We
entirety.
will, but
it's a letdown.
It is a
Tennessee, they didn't get
$50 down the gurgler, Blaze.
Yeah, it hurts. It stings, my friend. And you didn't get. Oh no, you did have a win on the punt today.
That's right, Blaze. I did win the Melbourne Cup today.
Yeah,
Thank you.
congratulations.
$12.50 bonus bet. 23-1.
We'll slide that
Woohoo!
one.
Wearing the jockey hat.
He's lost the plot. Very well, Chucky.
You got to celebrate when you only win 3 out of your 8 guarantees.
3 out of 4.
Got to try.
Oh, yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, we are going to get to that mid-season review kind of setup. We might do a standalone show and have a look.
I think we do need to do a standalone mid-season review show.
Yeah, and have a look at that.
Yeah.
So watch this space. We'll get that in the works with Jim Teakin alike. We might try and do some funky stuff.
Now, a team with a good defense, Blaze.
Yes, my friend. The Miami Dolphins in a defense and Tua's debut game. But we are going to talk about the defense because they've built a little bit of a squad of men, dare I say, Schnazi, on that side of the ball. And obviously, we've just discussed it off air as we were doing our little pre-game
Slammer and I had a good discussion about this earlier tonight. About the way that the Dolphins have built their franchise. And last year they traded off. They got rid of Lamar Jackson. They got rid of Kenyon Drake at running back. Got rid of him. Minka Fitzpatrick shipped him off.
Yep.
Freed up a whole ton of cap room.
Brought in great draft picks.
Heaps of picks, which they drafted well.
Very well.
So their defense was on fire at the start of the year. And quite rightly so, still is on fire. Yeah. And they've got to a point in the season where they've had the bench Fitzpatrick, to the...
Don't forget about the free agent acquisitions they had as well during the offseason because of all that money they had.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah. Should have touched on that. They've brought in people like Byron Jones, Van Noy from New England who have just supported that defense.
100%.
I think it's really helps
veteran
you go
guys.
out and you can pick guys that fit your scheme and you can hand pick them rather than... Because you already know what they're going to do in the NFL rather than taking that risk on what they could potentially be from a draft.
And they're not controversial players either. They've got
they're picking absolute stars.
They've been studs in the league for a long time. Yeah. Byron Jones is an absolute stud.
And then what they've done this week is they've gone, see you later, Fitzpatrick, you're done. And I've done it for good reason because we questioned it a bit last week.
Yeah.
And I've done a bit more research on it this week.
You've done well with this one, Schnazi.
They're a good defensive side. They need to keep the ball on offense and not do anything stupid.
Yeah.
And Fitzpatrick's interception numbers were building up. Mm-hmm. He likes to take a shot at the deep ball, which we did see in Tampa Bay under Bruce Arians.
Oh, 100%.
Him and Crab Legs were throwing interceptions everywhere, but also throwing for bulk yards.
Yeah.
And the second thing is they've got a plethora of picks coming up in this year's draft as well.
Yeah.
They need to see what they have in Tua now because otherwise...
Get on board with the Dolphins.
I was just going to say, I know there's a lot of fringe guys that don't know who to go with. Like the Dolphins, you can see the throwback kit here is looking tidy. Sort yourself out the Jersey Cartel and hop on the Miami Dolphins bandwagon because I think that's going to be one that's going to start to build momentum over the next couple of years.
And don't probably hop on a Tua jersey just yet.
No, probably not.
Probably cool your Jets on a Tua jersey.
Yeah,
like Slammer.
The left half.
Mate, I've been calling for it, and he's played one game and he's won one game.
The left-handed gunslinger.
You can't argue with that, can you?
Can't argue with that.
Tell us about his game, Slam.
Well, let me. I've just had a look at the stats. Let me read out some stats for you, and you tell me how they've won 28-17.
Yeah.
So Tua's thrown 12 of 22 for 93 yards, one touchdown, no picks. That's probably the only shining light on that is the no picks. They haven't had a player rush for more than 47 yards.
Yep.
And their leading receiver had 16 yards on 2 catches.
Yeah.
So they've got a bunch of blokes on 15, 16 yards receiving.
You want to tell you how they won?
Defense.
Jared Goff.
Yeah.
Well, Jared Goff's first half.
Defense was insane.
2 fumbles, 2 interceptions. One of the fumbles was returned for 6. One of them was returned to the 1 yard line.
Yep. And there was a pick 6 as well, wasn't there?
And there was a punt return touchdown.
I don't think there was a pick 6, but there was a punt return touchdown.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
they were really good on every other side of the ball. But I think really on offense, they just more did what they had to do. Bled out the clock, sort of just mulled around. They were only 2 for 9 on third
It's how we
down,
described Kurt at the start of the season.
How much were we going to expect out of Tua on a game debut against the Rams defense? I wouldn't have expected much. Maybe more than 100 yards. But
He didn't need to do anything though.
He didn't have to. Yeah,
the issue is here
his numbers might have been better if they were behind, and he had to try and.
He didn't have to throw the ball.
Yeah.
They just wanted him to protect the ball, run the ball a bit.
I think
turn the ball over.
Ecstatic that his body got through fine and that they won the game.
Yeah,
they'd be over the moon.
They would be very happy, and I think Brian Flores is really starting to he's earning
sneaky coach of the year vibes.
Sneaky coach of the year vibes, maybe, but there's certainly some credit where credit's due here in terms of the program that he's built. The team, the pieces, the plan. It's all starting
around on this year, Blaze. They were 1-3.
Yeah.
Now they're 4-3. Right on the door of that wild card berth.
I don't know that you'd want to play the Dolphins right now.
No, I don't reckon I would.
Yeah, I wouldn't be signing up, like you would have at the start of the year, probably.
I don't. Yeah, they're not the easy beat that you would have penciled down at the start of the year.
Dare I say it? Watch out, Buffalo.
Well,
it's up. I think they've definitely got a good defense that could match up with Buffalo. They've already lost to Buffalo this year.
Yep.
Yeah, once. Was that down in Miami? Does anyone remember that game or not?
I
reckon it actually might have been because I flagged it.
I think it was.
No, was it in Miami or did we say because we flagged it saying that it was like a cold team going to a hot zone? Or I reckon that's what I said.
It's best not to get bogged down in it.
But yeah, I think that was something. So I think
since week 4,
the next game will probably be in Buffalo in the cold, which won't help the Dolphins. But yeah, absolutely. I don't think you'd want to play the Dolphins at the moment.
No.
And on the flip side of that, this doesn't do much for the Rams.
No.
Like, I've been saying how they've only beaten NFC East teams.
And the Bears.
And the Bears now.
Who we love.
Who we've got so much respect for here at the Slim Sam Bandwagon fan. And now they lose to the Dolphins in Miami. The offense looks very stagnant. Got beat up, really, by that defense there in Miami. So
it's really hard with Jared Goff. And I'm weary that we might spend a bit too much time here. But Jared Goff is... he's so up and he's so hard to predict what you're going to get. You're going to get 350 yards and 4 touchdowns, and Cooper Kupp and Brandon Cooks and all the like are going to look fantastic. Or you're going to get this. You play a pretty good defense, and
go to water.
Yeah, you go absolutely to water. I don't know what to do there. I really don't.
Speaking of water, Blaze.
Yep.
Let's get into the Vikings.
Oh, young man, you are good with that. Might have been overhyped, actually. Probably wasn't that good. But hey, the Vikings did get a big upset here, 28-22. You shake your head, Schnauzy. A big upset here for Kirk and the boys. Schnauzy.
I wouldn't even call it Kirk and the boys. I'd call it Dalvin and the boys.
Correct. Yeah, it's
Dalvin.
Dalvin cooking.
Went absolute off.
Yeah.
Speaking of other players in the offense, didn't have a great week because they were pushing the ball through Dalvin the whole game. Kirk only had like 15 passes.
Yeah.
Since 2006, Justin Jefferson is has the highest rookie grade for a wide receiver.
Wow.
That's good.
He is absolutely flying. He is replacing Stefan Diggs unbelievably well. Except this week, flip the script. 15 passes from Kirk. Didn't need to throw the ball.
You get your absolute Rolls Royce back, and he just goes bunter. 3 on the ground, 1 in the air, I think. Dalvin.
Yeah, unbelievable. 200 yards through scrimmage Blaze, 4 touchdowns. First Vikings player to ever do it. Also the first ever player to do it at Lambeau Field. So wouldn't have thought that'll be sitting too well with many cheeseheads at home that the only player to ever do that is a Minnesota Viking.
Yes, that would sting a little bit.
We did call this slam. We said if you're going to win the game, if Minnesota are going to win, if the Vikings are going to win games this year, Kirk is not going to win them the games. Their running game's going to win it for them.
Correct.
And when Dalvin went out against, I believe it was the Seahawks.
They went to absolute water.
They went to water.
Yeah. Correct.
And the thing with the Seahawks is they're 2-5 now, Slam? Or are they 2-4?
The Vikings.
Yeah.
2-6.
2-5, sorry.
2-5,
yeah.
2-5.
So they've lost, is it 3 games by 1 score? Less than 1 score.
Yeah.
Under 3 points.
Well, if you remember, I flagged this team as a potential dark horse sort of team that really had to run the ball through Dalvin Cook. And we haven't really been able to see that with the injuries and things like that. But I think, it has been there a couple of occasions to see that when they can get going and when they can run it through him the way they want to play the game through him and control clock and do the things like that, they're going to be a hard team to beat. They're not an easy beat. They're not a typical 2-5 team.
100%.
He actually had more rushing yards on the weekend than Kirk had passing yards.
Correct.
And he was still their leading receiver.
Are you getting any cold feet, question marks, whatever you want to call it, about the Green Bay Packers at the moment?
Well, I think a little bit.
They're quite hard to read, I feel like,
Hasn't been a great 3 weeks.
Yeah, exactly.
Two bad losses.
Yeah.
This lost to a would have been 1-5 Vikings at the time.
Correct.
And again, absolutely pantsed by the Bucks. Didn't say Patriots. That's a win for me.
Very good.
They started the season on fires. Rodgers was a contender for MVP up there with our good friend Russ.
Yep. Let
him cook. They've hit the skids a little bit, and this is what we sort of thought might happen a little bit during the season. Their wide receiver room is not full, not packed. They don't have a lot of offensive weapons. They've got 2 weapons on offense, really. And when they,
and one wasn't playing on the weekend.
Yeah.
And when you can shut them down, so Adams still got 3 touchdowns, but he only got 57 yards on the day on 12 targets, which isn't a lot. So he was good in the red zone, but moving the chains wasn't too good, and that's probably where the Packers lost this game.
Where they struggled a little bit. Yeah, and Aaron Jones is massive for them at this point.
I think 100%.
He can do so much on the ground and in the catching as well. It's just, he's going to be integral for them moving forward to keep pressure off Aaron Rodgers and making sure that he doesn't have to be Jesus. He can actually just be Aaron every now and then and get him over the line.
Jesus, love it, Blaze.
That's right. The Lions and Colts here. The Colts who are sneakily making their way up in our books.
Yep, 5-2.
That's right. They're 41-21 victors here against the Lions. Drew up level in the division now, I believe, with the Titans. So making some waves.
The real concern here is the Colts, we've probably written them off a bit because they've just got Phillip Rivers in at quarterback.
Correct.
They probably had the team. They had the defense last year, good defense. But the Lions are the concern here.
Yeah.
They have lost their last 7 straight home games.
Yeah,
and
right.
5-14 in the last 2 years at home as well.
That is an unbelievably
Not
poor
good.
record for a game.
Yeah.
Football is so heavily dominated by the home team.
Even if you take out
the home
those
team is
last
a
7,
fortress.
even if you take out those 7 that you just said, that means they're still 5-7 at home since losing, before losing 7
straight
on the trot.
Yeah.
You need to win more of your home games than you lose to be any chance of going to the playoffs.
It is just another reminder about that franchise and that brand and that location. It's like, I'm going to Detroit. It's not. No one's scared about going to Detroit.
You're not worried about going to Detroit.
It's just it's lackluster.
Jordan Wilkins here on the weekend. I've barely ever heard of the bloke. He's had 20 carries for 89 yards on the ground there for the Colts.
Yeah.
Jonathan Taylor only had 22 yards.
And they've got Hines down there as well.
Yeah, Naheem Hines. He had some good day receiving it, especially wise. He had 2 receiving touchdowns and a very
highlight touchdown that you should check out.
Touchdown. And
is that the one that
a huge celebration?
The spin?
Little step.
Hit the trick move.
Little step spin. It's
But I think Phil did everything you would have needed from Phil on the weekend, though. 262 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks.
Phil the stat sheet.
Yeah.
This is a much maligned character, Phillip Rivers, but he is an experienced quarterback. He's behind a pretty good line.
The defense too,
and the defense is
the return
is
of
what's going
Darius
to build
Leonard
it.
on the weekend.
Yeah, tasty.
First game back in a couple of weeks, I reckon it was.
Yeah,
he had a strip sack.
Yeah,
so he was everywhere. He was elite.
You need to watch Darius Leonard. He is a great example of how to play defense in the NFL. It's fantastic.
He's a cornerstone. He's someone you can build a defense around, no doubt.
Correct. Are you happy with that, Schnauzer? You moving on?
Yeah, I don't have much time for the Lions or
Very
Colts.
good. The Browns and Raiders played in a snowball.
Yeah, in a game that we do not need to spend a lot of time on.
This was a really tough one for all involved. It wasn't good for the eyes. It was really windy. It was really snowy. The Raiders came away 16-6 victors here, and the Browns.
Some of the field goals attempts here were amazing.
Yes, just absolute.
I've never seen balls move like that.
Absolute swingers.
I don't reckon ever once any kicker's ever gone to training and his coach has gone, "Hey mate, just hang it like 2 meters wide of the right upright, and you might just sneak it into the left."
I genuinely reckon he might have been aiming at the side pylon in the end zone.
Yeah, it was.
He was putting it like 8 meters wide.
Speaking of things worth to check out,
it was amazing.
You wouldn't have thought field goal attempts are worth having a look at, but
it was crazy, wasn't it?
It is quite. It was quite
insane.
And those balls,
those balls, obviously, they're not. I don't have one on me right now, but they're not that big compared to an AFL football. They're quite considerably smaller.
Yeah,
and they're a bit. They're lighter as well.
Yeah,
they're considerably lighter. So once the wind gets a hold of it, it really starts to drag it.
They balloon a bit more. It's like when the punters punt them, they get a lot more hang time. They balloon a bit more.
Yeah.
But no, that game was shocking. The Browns, even more shocking. They they're really struggling without
They've got issues.
Their running backs.
Yeah.
So they got Kareem Hunt still. He's playing okay.
Spittering and sputtering.
Would have liked a lot more out of him.
Yep.
But they are struggling. So no Odell. No Chubb running back.
I think Chubb's the big one there. The weird one on the Browns, right? So I've said it a million times. They need to run the ball. Baker's not the guy.
Yeah.
He's not the guy. I've been very adamant about how much I have a disdain for Baker Mayfield.
Yeah.
But so in games that the Browns have won this year, they've scored more than 30 points in every single game.
Yeah.
In games that they've lost, they've had 3. So every game that they've scored 30 plus or scored 7 points or less.
Yeah.
So they either get absolutely killed
or can't get
put up
anything
30
going
plus.
at all.
Downhill skiers. We've been saying it.
100%.
We've been saying it all year. They beat up on
Only put
teams
up
like the
6
Bengals.
points on the Raiders at home. Josh Jacobs punched them though. 128 yards on the ground.
In those conditions, having a running game like that and a running back like that,
and that's what
makes all the difference.
That's what this game was leading to. It was a game of the running backs not being able to throw the ball accurately.
Yeah.
And when you got Josh Jacobs versus Kareem Hunt, and Kareem Hunt was once when he was at the Chiefland, he was a prestigious
100%.
talent.
Yep.
If you're wanting to have a look at like specky highlights and stuff, Jarvis Landry, he did have some stuff ups on the weekend, but he also had one seriously good one-handed grab with his left. It was very impressive.
Tidy. Watch your space on that one. The Bengals and Titans in probably one of the upsets of the week.
Absolutely.
Joey Burrow, Smoking Joe.
Smoking Joe.
He's no joke. Okay.
Oh, God.
Tennessee Titans.
For time, and you're running that crap.
Tennessee
I'd
Titans.
like to apologise to all the fans out there who just had to listen to that.
More would love that than they don't. The Titans got 20 and the Bengals got 31. And a really, really good matchup here for a young Joe Burrow.
Yep.
And T. Higgins had a bit of a breakout here. He's been having a great year anyway, to be honest.
78 yards and 6 receptions there,
Yeah.
Buzz.
The Titans didn't get a single sack on Joe Burrow this week. And considering they've brought in Clown, I'm not sure if Clown even played, to be honest, but they would have been looking
Hasn't
for
had
the
a great
great
year at all, has
I had
he?
that written down. So they brought him in on a $15 million one-year deal.
Yeah.
Davion Clowney.
Yeah. Big dog.
He has had one tackle for loss all year.
Wow.
No
Yeah.
sacks.
Wow,
And a man who was demanding mega money
Yeah.
in the offseason has come in and hasn't produced anything. One thing the Titans lacked last year was a pass rush.
Correct.
Yeah,
They brought in that guy to
still,
fix it.
They're still lacking it.
They are lacking it more than ever.
That would be filthy.
They would be absolutely filthy. He has underperformed big time. And he thought on the back of this one-year deal, have a super year, then get that huge deal. Mate, you're fucking kidding yourself. You are a joke.
Oh, wow.
Got that.
Bang. I think I've
bang,
said a
bang.
few times about Henry, if he has over 100 yards and more than like 20 carries, they don't lose. We had 18 carries on the weekend for 112 yards, and they did lose.
Yeah,
so
right.
that's a big,
so they bucked the trend a little bit.
Yeah, against the Bengals of all people have bucked the trend.
I think
Corey Davis went off as well. Had 128 yards and 8
flagged
receptions.
him a couple of weeks ago. Yeah.
So those two were the biggest stat movers of the day, but the Bengals were really more of a team effort there on the weekend.
Yeah.
Did a lot more, spread the ball around a lot more, weren't as one-dimensional as the
It
Titans.
was their best rushing game for the year.
Yeah. Well, I've got a weird stat on the rushing, right?
They brought in another
So
player,
on Giovanni Bernard, when he has more than 15 rush attempts in a game, the Bengals are 11-1-1.
Jesus.
That is a rare stat.
Is that not the most rare stat?
That is out there.
Like, Mixon's been crap.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's been pretty much crap.
Yeah.
I reckon he's had one game where he was really good, and everything else he's been pretty average. But Giovanni Bernard, if he has more than 15 rushes, 11-1-1.
That's unreal.
Because he had
that
two
was-
touchdowns
Can we
from
get that in
scrimmage
Zach
this week.
Taylor's space? I don't know what I was going to say. The email inbox or something like that. He needs to know
Yeah.
that is a
Somebody
thing.
needs to tell him.
Someone needs to
Wait,
tell
were you
him.
just trying to say someone just needs to tell Zach Taylor?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
By putting it in his space.
I got
Yeah.
muddled.
Get on his MySpace.
I got muddled up in the
Try and
delivery.
Tom
get
from
one of his-
MySpace will help you out.
Try and get to one of his top friends.
I got muddled up in the delivery of the message. Rambling. The Buffalo Bills and the New England
I think
Patriots.
we got to go back to that one quickly.
Okay, of
with the
course.
Bengals stat that Slam was bringing in there. So we've been saying it all year. Mixon's been trash.
Yeah.
Joe's been throwing the ball everywhere. He's been having pass attempts out of the world. His shoulder's nearly out of his arm.
Yeah.
They have a game. What do they get out there? They had, was it 32 rushes, 118 yards, 2 touchdowns rushing the ball. Bernhard had 2 from scrimmage.
Yeah.
That's how they've won this game. Their rushing game finally stood up, and they finally figured out a scheme to get it to work.
Yep.
Yeah.
And his
good on
name's
him.
Giovanni.
Yeah,
Good on him.
apparently so.
Bills Pats.
I reckon, and they've been using Giovanni a bit in the
Slam
receiving
it,
game.
introduce
as
it
well.
when you're ready, mate.
Sorry, but that was that was one last thing on the
He just
Bengals.
apologise on camera.
That was one
It's gotta
last
be a
thing.
first.
One last
We'll
thing
say
on the Bengals. That's their first win against a team above 500 since week 5 of 2018.
Good luck to him.
So over 2 years.
I'm shooketh by Giovanni Bernard.
I know.
He's like,
Hey, you want a rare stat? I'm your guy.
that is unbelievable. He is like the Antichrist.
What? What? I love when we got static on the mic because you're trying to compute what you've just
I'm
said.
not sure. I'm
right.
not sure.
Bills
Somehow
versus Pats.
you are.
Can we get to the Bills and Pats?
24
finally?
versus 21.
Thank you,
Key
Shazzy.
takeaway from this game for the Bills, or for New England, first 4-loss streak since 2002.
Wow.
A long time.
That is
I'll
huge.
say this though: the Bills might be the worst 6-2 team I've ever seen.
Okay, interrupt my flow.
Cop that.
Second, this is the Buffalo Bills' first win at home versus New England since 2011.
That's insane.
Yeah.
When we were talking about home wins before, that's insane.
So
That is insane.
So obviously Buffalo was Brady's house away from home for a
Yeah.
little while.
100%.
He was just going there beating them up and going.
Yeah.
100%. What this shows is, although the score was 24-21 here, it's a huge mental demon that the
Yes.
Bills have
And
passed and
True.
beaten in this game.
Like, to be fair, with a minute to go in this game, the Patriots were about 15 yards away.
Yeah.
And they were either going to tie it or win it, and then Cam's fumbled it.
Uh,
So massive props to Buffalo's defense there for that linebacker running over and punching the ball out. He's saved
Game-saving play.
Absolutely saved a game.
I tell you what, Grumpy Bill would have been pretty flat with Cam Newton after the game. He did come out and say, look, we only had $1 million to spend and we got Cam Newton, so look into that.
What was his was we loaded up in the last few years. We loaded up and went all in on Super Bowls, and now we're paying the price.
Yeah, exactly.
To be fair though, they've still got a few players in that COVID out list.
Yes, they do.
Who opted out for the season, not having COVID, which has hurt their defense a bit. But that's not the issue. Their offense is the issue here. And Cam has not done himself any favours since about week 3.
Like I just said, the Bills are 6-2, right? And maybe I was being a tad dramatic before, but they've actually got a negative point differential.
Is that right?
So on the year, they've had more scored against them than they've actually put up as points, and they're 6-2.
Well, that's interesting. What I wanted to quickly touch on here is Tom Brady has come back into the fold here at Tampa Bay. He's got all these weapons and he looks fantastic. Well, he looks a lot better than he did. The Patriots are still...
Had to hold yourself back on that one, did you?
The Patriots are still absolutely devoid
You
of...
can see the hurt on his face.
I'll just wind it back and touch on that.
The Patriots are absolutely devoid of offensive talent. And that is a really, really... They've drafted really poorly. The free agency hasn't worked out with Sanu and alike. I don't know. Yeah, I feel for Cam in some respects because this is probably curtains really on the career. It's starting to look really quite grim. But how much can you do on your own? There's nothing that Edelman's now gone for. I think he's on IR now. So, and he was the only thing you had that was kind of close. Like, what can you actually do there if you're not getting any help from the people around you? You genuinely have, no-namers at every position.
And all you can say to that is just it shows you how great Tom was. With the players he had, like obviously he relied on Gronkowski for years, and when Gronkowski retired, it got incredibly tough.
I think he
had his favourites.
Yeah, I think he had a bit more when he was winning.
Yeah, he had a bit, but like you looked even last year, like Edelman was not much chop, Sanu was not much chop, and then you got N'Keal Harry last year, not much chop.
Towards the end, they went away from having that, but most of the time they would go out and have at least one or two bona fide stars. Like they went out and had Randy Moss for a while there. They used to go out and get at least.
They had like Chris Hogan.
Oh yeah,
like
he could make average blokes look good.
100%.
And then he goes gets a big deal, and he's still playing in the league now. So good on Chris Hogan.
That was part of the magic. That was part of the magic of Tom Brady through that period for sure.
I think when Tom Brady's there as well, players are more inclined to come rather than they're not as big of a destination team anymore.
It's probably a fair assessment.
Which is the same as like what the Chiefs are going through at the moment because they've got Paddy Mahomes. Players like Le'Veon Bell are willing to go and play there.
Take a pay cut to get cut.
And potentially get a chip. So
it's an interesting one, and it's one of those dynamics in the NFL that is just part of the game. Hey, the Broncos and the Chargers in a game that was dead to rights for most of it, but the Chargers running away with it.
Real tale of two halves.
And then the Broncos out of nowhere, 31-30, with
None
a little.
of us got this right.
No one did.
Won it on a throw right as time expired as well. The Blaz.
Drew Lock to KJ Hamler with a butt touchdown. So you don't get to see that very often, especially not to win the game. No. So. Any key takeaway here, Shanazi?
Key takeaway here, which I didn't really realise before the game. Now the Chargers, the Broncos are 4-1 in their last 5 against the Chargers. That's a stat for you.
Yeah, that's not a bad stat there at all. How's this one though for you, Shanazi? The Chargers have become the first team since the 2003 Falcons to lead 3 games in a season by 17 points or more and lose all of them. So apparently, it's a serious Chargers and Falcons problem for the last 20 years.
So this is.
What's going on with those two clubs?
For 20 years. 20 years. Insane. It's a massive portion of our life.
On the positive, they do have Justin Herbert. Yeah. And he is the only rookie besides Deshaun Watson to have 4 straight games of 3 touchdowns or more.
Yeah,
and that's on the back of
he has been the one shining light.
Multiple 300-yard games. He is really, really positive. And I think in terms of moving on from I was about to say the word generational. That is not correct. Your franchise quarterback for a long while in Phillip Rivers. Into someone that Herbert looks every bit like he can just step into that and be it for the next 10, 15 years.
We'll be talking about him for years, I reckon.
Yep. Yeah. Oh, 100%.
I look forward to it, big guy.
Question for both of you.
It's going to be a serious AFC West battle there for a while, a long time to come, I would have thought, between Herbert and Mahomes.
Yeah.
Well, the question I had for you is, what are your thoughts on Drew Lock so far this season?
Well, the first 3 quarters of the weekend, nothing. And then pretty much that for the rest of the year as well. So far, hasn't really been doing much, which is a bit of a letdown because going as the season ended last year.
We hyped him up.
Yeah,
we have to own that.
I definitely hype him up. I was on that early. I thought he was going to be really good. and that's how he ended the year. So that was, basing on the footage. But yeah, not great so far. But then obviously in the last quarter they scored 3 touchdowns, and he had a game-winning touchdown at the end there to put them. What are they now? 3-4 on the season.
Probably staves the Wolves off for a little bit.
I think it does definitely. And I think when you haven't had Von Miller and you haven't had Cortland Sutton all year.
He did miss 2 games though.
Yeah.
Because Brett with 2 Ts, Brett ripened. Did start one and did come in at halftime.
Yep.
But no, it's just a question mark to keep watching because Drew Lock was one of those players that we sort of hyped up at the start of the year and he's not doing so well.
It's kind of up and down a little bit at the moment. Watch this space. Seahawks, Niners. The Niners now approaching critical mass in terms of the injuries that they've got. And the Seahawks got away 37-27 in a game that, Seahawks have been playing in all these shootouts and late in games and overtimes and whatnot. They kind of put the foot down a little bit here. They kept the Niners out of it, and obviously big injuries to especially Kittle, but obviously losing a couple along the way. Garoppolo and Pettis, I believe, are both hurt. 37-27.
I think we
did what they had to do.
I think we expected this here. Did anyone really think the Seahawks were going to lose 2 in a row?
No,
we wouldn't have thought so.
What I did like was their defense in the first half. I was like, actually, have they finally come to play? And then I watched the last quarter highlights, and no, they didn't.
And that was pretty much similar in the last week against Arizona as well. They were pretty good in the first half and a bit watered down in the second half. Seahawks started 6-1 here for the second time in their franchise. Last time they did it, they won the Super Bowl.
Yeah, okay.
So
look out.
There's that going for them as well.
Russ has a bit of history on his side against the Niners. He's 14-4 all time.
Really? Against the Niners?
Yep.
That's impressive.
He'd be really happy with that.
Granted, they were down for a bit there, probably 3 or 4 years ago. Not too flash.
Yeah.
Before that, they were in the Super Bowl when Kaepernick was the quarterback.
Since then,
they've been a pretty good side.
They'd be very happy with that. I think they'd be very happy with their year. Russell Wilson continues to cook. It's another 4 touchdowns this week, I believe.
He is just running away with this MVP.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah,
is Peyton Manning's touchdown record in jeopardy here?
What is it, 54 or something?
I think so.
54.
I believe he's been
at the
on
moment
pace.
he's on track for 58 or something.
Yeah.
I think he's had 20. Oh, I can't think now.
But and I guess
I don't know, 50. Yeah.
Brilliant transition.
To wrap that up a little bit,
but
DK
at
Metcalf as well.
At the moment, he's on track to break that.
Yeah.
If he does the same thing on the second half of the season, he will break it.
And you've obviously got Metcalf there, who's just turning into an absolute bona fide superstar. Impossible matchup. I
think there was something I saw that said Brady and Manning had both had the most touchdowns through 7 games, and they were both around 24, 25, and I think Russ might be at 26.
Okay.
And obviously they both won the MVP that year. So
watch your space with that one, but obviously some historical kind of numbers coming along.
100%, mate.
Yep.
100%.
Bears and Saints here, 26-23. I saw your eyes. You wanted to move along a little bit, did you?
Yeah, not really keen on this game here. The Bears, don't really like them.
Yeah.
They were in front most of the game against the Saints. The Saints here, no Michael Thomas still. Apparently he did train last week, so we should be seeing him
getting closer
this week. We hope.
You'd hope so, wouldn't you?
Provided there's no indiscretions at training.
Yeah.
Provided there's no Wims. Lucky he wasn't playing because him and Wims might have.
Good Lord, yeah.
Well, maybe Wims was operating on his behalf because I believe it was Thomas and Gardner Johnson that went toe to toe, wasn't it?
Correct.
Yeah.
And there is a bit of. I did read some rumors on Twitter that were sort of saying that he spat on.
Spat
on him before that.
And he'd ripped the mouthpiece off of him originally, which is what the Bears player
tried
to do.
No, it was a teammate.
Oh, was it a teammate?
Yeah, I reckon.
Yeah.
So, Gardner Thomas.
I think
I think the guy that Wims yanked it off on the second one, that was the guy that pulled it, but he didn't do it to him. He did it to one of his teammates.
He did it to teammates.
But the funny part about it was that was actually on the previous drive. So he sat on the sidelines for 11 whole minutes, and they're probably there scheming up plays and doing all that, and Wims is clearly just sitting there like,
where is he?
I'm grabbing that mother effer's bloody mouth guard.
Where is he?
The second I get out there, like, look out. Like, so
imagine what he was
11 minutes, he's just been stewing on it. He's just sitting there going, I'm going to get him.
It's not even that. Like, imagine what he was thinking in the first minute when he's first gone to the sidelines. Like, I'm going to bloody kill that. And then he's out here there going, and after 11 minutes, he's calmed down to a lever. He's going, I'm just going to take his chain.
Yeah.
But just imagine what would have happened if he'd gone straight back on it. If they got interception or something.
That was
just imagine it.
Well, just like, he yanked the mouthpiece, didn't break it, and then he's sort of backed off, and then he's like, you're thinking, that's it then. And then he just goes one of those big open hand pumps, which I still don't understand. What is the point of trying to hit someone in the head in American football? Like, fair enough, it's the AFL. There's nothing there to protect it.
But they've got a helmet on.
They've got a helmet on. All it's going to do is break your hand. Like, you end up just bitch slapping them in the face, and it looks weak as. Like, what's the point?
It is bizarre. It is a bizarre little highlight there.
But we're getting off topic. This was the Alvin Kamara show, no doubt. Led the team in receiving, led the team in rushing, 96 and 67 yards there comparatively. So
they win as he goes.
Oh, 100%. Look, for the fact that they're 5-2, and have not had Emmanuel Sanders for 2 or 3 weeks, and haven't had
Last
Michael Thomas
two,
pretty much
Michael
the entire
Thomas.
year. They are in a way better spot than you would anticipate if I told you at the start of the year that Michael Thomas hadn't played all year.
Which is a scary part because we're still sort of underrating them. We're still saying they're not a great side.
Yeah, absolutely. They've got the Bucks this weekend. Yep. So that is a massive game.
It's a big watch.
It's going to be huge.
It's going to be a big watch. And it's
nice to see that the Bears are back to 5-3.
Yeah, it's lovely. Yeah. There's a couple of all-time quarterbacks going toe-to-toe there, but you'll be able to get that in the preview show coming up. Absolutely. Hey, Eagles-Cowboys in arguably the worst game of football I've ever seen.
Yep, I didn't watch it.
23-9 here. The Eagles came away with it. Big shout-out Jersey Cartel. It's been coming for a while, mate. Travis Fulgham, or Fulgham, depending on how you want to interpret that, looked good again, but he was pretty much the only highlight there. Carson Wentz was
just
deplorable.
One of the worst games.
And the Cowboys had a quarterback who looked like he was in 6th grade.
Diggs' brother had 2 interceptions.
Trevor.
The Cowboys defense, so that's probably about the only highlight there.
I don't have too much else on that.
I watched the highlights for every single game, and I did not even turn these ones on.
Yeah.
So you didn't watch them for every single game?
Nah, every single game except that one.
-1.
I happened to see a few things in passing.
We get it. You didn't watch it.
It was awful. Just awful.
He's done?
Now. Yeah, I think he's done. Yeah.
So I have a few names to rattle off here. Ha Clinton Dix, Gerald McCoy, Dontari Poe, Everson Griffin, and Darryl Worley. They were all signed as free agents in the offseason. They've all been cut.
Dontari Poe got cut.
Yep.
Got cut.
So and then they have 3 more free agents they signed.
Were they all on the Cowboys?
Yes.
Wow.
They were their off-season signings. So they let players like Byron Jones walk out, and this is who they've signed instead. The other signings who they've had who are still active are Andy Dalton, somewhat active, Greg Zerline,
brain injury,
and Alden Smith. So 70% of their free agent signings have all been cut, and it's only week 8.
Yeah, and the ones that are playing have been
so what are they doing?
Subpar.
Because they're not moving on their stuff. Like they're not moving on players to get picks in, or because they still apparently
Everson Griffin was traded. The rest were cut.
They've come out and said they're not going to fire the defensive coordinator. They're not going to fire Mike McCarthy. So what are they doing?
Tanking.
But I don't get it.
That's all they can be doing.
I don't get it.
I don't know that
I really don't get it.
Tanking is fine.
Like, why would you not trade Amari Cooper and get something for him?
But when you're the Cowboys, tanking doesn't fly. Like,
I think it's going to fly now because what are they, 1-6?
You think that?
Oh, sorry,
2-6.
But you're talking a fan base, you're talking media, you're talking all this stuff.
It's all gone though. It's all like as soon as Dak got injured, their season was done.
Yeah, I can appreciate.
And they're going to
get.
They're going to have to. This is going to do is create more hype for them to sign Dak next year,
yeah.
And they're going to come back with the same offense, and that's why they're not trading him. And they're going to use this year's picks on defense.
But they don't.
Some more free agents because all the cap room.
That's what I'm saying. I reckon if I was them, you get rid of Amari Cooper, you could probably get 2 first rounders. Because what did they give up? They gave up like 3 to get him.
I think it was 2 and a second.
Yeah. 2 and a second. So say you get 2 first, you get rid of that.
But does anyone pay 2 first for Amari Cooper now?
I don't think so.
I don't know. But all I'm saying is you wouldn't be short at wide receiver because they've still got CeeDee Lamb, they've still got Gallup, still got all the other blokes there as well. They need offense isn't the problem.
No,
they're not getting. They're not losing games 7-4.
Hang on. They went all the way to New York and not New York. Who'd they play last week? Washington.
No, but I'm saying with Dak.
With Dak,
the offense wasn't their problem.
At the start of the year,
they weren't losing games 17-14. They were losing games 40-39.
Still, Andy Dalton's a serviceable quarterback.
Yeah, well, apparently not.
Oh, serviceable quarterback at Cincinnati the last 2 years there. Questionable call.
He had some good years before that.
Yeah, but there is a thing called decline.
No, I assumed that he was going to be much better than he was, but
a rate of decay.
I think that's clearly just a whole team that's quit on the year.
Yeah.
As soon as Dak went down, they won that game for him, and then they quit. I reckon that's enough said on that game too.
100%, just quietly. The last game of the weekend came today.
Almost the upset of the week.
Monday Night Football. This would have definitely been upset of the week, and I would have been licking my lips if the Bucks had lost to the Giants. But they got over the line, 25-23. The state of the bet gets even darker by the week, and
6-2.
I think the main thing to watch here, Schnazzy, is the Bucks just got it done. The Giants seem to be a team that are I'm not saying by any means they're any good, but they might not be as bad as we think.
From what's seen today, I thought they're a genuine chance of winning the division. Well, obviously because they're not very far behind, but still.
Yeah. I think their whole preseason, everything was based around your primary offense is going to be running the ball for Saquon Barkley.
Oh yeah.
And then Daniel Jones has he's not a bad quarterback. I still think he's going to be okay. He needs to get better ball control.
He was okay today.
But they've had no running game all year.
Yeah.
Absolutely all year. And I think they had a bit of a better game on the ground today, which helped them a lot and took the pressure off Danny Dimes a bit. But their team, they've lost 5 games by under 10 points this year.
Yep.
Which is just ridiculous. And we've been writing them off.
The opposite of the Browns.
Opposite of the Browns, but we've been putting them in the same category as the Jets. They're far from in the same category as the Jets here.
They're much better.
They're just in the same state, and they're getting lumped in with a pile.
Well,
I
talked about the Detroit before and their struggles at home. New York are the only team worse than that over the last 2 years. They're actually 5-15 at home since 2018.
Well, they've started 3 of the last 4 seasons 1-7.
Wow, so that's
which is
why what the Falcons,
that
hurts. Like you said before.
It's
worrying. It's worrying, but they're clearly not in anywhere near as big a disaster as the Jets.
Yes, I think that is probably a very smart call, and I think maybe just touching on the Bucks quickly. Gronkowski
and they'd be a hell of a lot better with Barkley.
Yeah, absolutely.
That just goes without saying.
Absolutely. Yeah. Gronkowski 3rd straight week with a touchdown.
Yeah.
So him and Tom are kind of recreating the magic. A little throwback.
Sort of got lucky that
throwback Monday.
Did Antonio play today? I missed the game.
No. They're looking at taking snaps potentially next week. What?
I think we've lost camera.
Regardless, we're about done.
If we've lost camera, we're just going to have to. You have to bear with us, folks. If you're watching us live, if not, the podcast will roll on, of course.
Well, that's the last game, Blaze.
That is the last game. So we're going to wrap this up nice and quickly. Socials: Facebook, Instagram, TikTok alike, Slim Slam and the Bandwagon Fan. Twitter, SSBF Podcast. Make sure you're all over that for us, folks. The giveaway is red hot at the moment, and we've seen some really nice uptakes. So keep sending in your screenshots of that confirmed subscription.
Yeah.
And we're monitoring all the activity from there.
And don't think that if you'd already subscribed, you can't send us through a screenshot of your subscription.
Absolutely. Got to be in it to win it.
Absolutely.
And we're watching that like a hawk, and we're looking forward to giving away a customizable Guernsey from the Jersey Cartel to you very soon. Podcast, wherever you get them, give us a follow. Keep showing us that support. YouTube, obviously, as we're plugging with
Give us 5 stars on Apple Music.
Correct. And with the subscriptions there on YouTube, keep showing us a love. Continue to help us grow. With all that said, and unfortunately, if you are watching, I think you've lost sight of us. But Slammer,
he's been slammed. I've been slammed. That's the Bandwagon Fan. Good night.
Good night.